Hey everyone, Maxfield English up here again in northern Vermont, and today we're going to look at something that's all around us, and mostly out of sight and out of mind, and not quite as ubiquitous as air and bacteria, but these organisms, they're an undeniable part of the ecosystem here, for better or worse, and we're going to look at that a little bit more later. Um, we're talking about the common earthworm, Lumbricus terrestris, and that's the reason why I'm laying down on the ground here, because this is kind of the view that is best to take a look at them. So I have a shovel here, and we're actually kind of in an it's a hay field. It's not really hayed anymore. It's really just brush hogged maybe once every year or two, just to kind of keep the weeds down. And so we're going to take a look and see if we can find some worms, and we'll learn a little bit more about them.
You walk my road with your shoes on your feet. Probably feel the way I do. Live my life from day to...
So this is a quick look around at the field we're standing in. It's I don't know, maybe 5 acres of field interspersed with some trees. Looks like somebody started brush hogging it on this one pass and then maybe gave up or ran out of time. But I just walked over and plunged my shovel into the ground, and the first scoop I took, I pulled up this guy right here, Lumbricus terrestris. This is an earthworm. A lot of people refer to them as European night crawlers. So in terms of the worms, we've got 23 families, 6,000 named species. So there's a lot of variety in earthworms. Our last common ancestor is way back on the kingdom clade, so quite a while back. Worms are frequently collected for fishing. Anybody that's gone fishing knows that these are great bait. People often purchase them, but you can obviously dig your own. Good eats for barnyard fowl like chickens and stuff. And then anybody that grows vegetables or flowers, fruit trees, anything like that, knows that gardeners are happy to see worms in their soil. The main reason for this is because they're excellent aerators. They tunnel through the soil and provide passage for air to get in there, which aids in microbial processes, decomposition of material. They're great at breaking down tough fibers in leaves. So this time of year, there's a ton of dried leaves, and this is primarily what this worm is feeding on. And they pull them down into their hole in kind of cylindrical shape, and they consume them in there. And the result is the worm castings, which is actually the fecal matter of the worm. But worm castings are an excellent soil amendment, and you can actually buy worm castings bagged, and they cost a fair amount of money, but they're an excellent product, and they're pretty widely available now. So earthworms, they're a member of the order Megadrilacea. They're really not native to Northeast. In the United States, there are some species that are native to Native America, but about 13,000 years ago, we were standing under about a mile of ice right here. I know it's hard to believe looking around at all the vegetation, and then as the glaciers receded, they scraped pretty much any bit of soil that was left on the ground right off, and so we were left with bare rock. And obviously worms live in soil, and so there were really no worms here. Most of the worms that we see were imported by Europeans and they came in on ships, and a lot of the plants that they brought in, and they quickly spread throughout the region. And so when we dig up worms in the garden, there's a very good chance that they are not native worms, that they were imported here. So let's take a look at the woods and the other half of this story.
Probably say, Lord, why me? Work these hands to bleed.
So what we're seeing here would be typical of any mixed deciduous forest or primarily deciduous forest in mid-October. You get that wonderful crunch and the rustling of all these fallen leaves from the trees. And we can see they form a pretty thick mat on the ground right here. So what we're going to do is just kind of bend down, and I'm going to pull some of this to the side, and you can see how thick this is. You know, obviously the first year's leaves are right here on top. We've got some moss that's formed on top of this humus layer, and if you dig your fingers down in, you can see there's this really rich soil, and that's due to the slow decomposition of this leaf litter layer that we see all over the place. It's providing a seed bed for all these small woody plants here. And we've also got some small trees, like this right here is a white ash sapling. Right over here we've got a small American beech, sugar maple. So we've got a pretty good variety of regeneration in here, and a lot of that is due to the leaf litter layer that provides a great germination bed for the seeds for these trees to grow in. And this is where the problem with the earthworms is. We don't see it here because the worms aren't as prevalent, but we are going to take a look at some pictures in a little bit that show really the devastation that they can cause. And it's hard to believe that a worm of such small size can cause such a dynamic shift in the forest ecosystem, but it is entirely possible. So you know, take a snapshot in your mind of what you're looking at right here, so we can compare it to what we're going to look at next.
'Cause I got mouths to feed. Work these hands